So the HF-24 Marut is coming to War Thunder. What should you expect from the event aircraft? Today we're going to talk a little bit about the performance and a tiny little bit about the history about the aircraft for you to actually have an idea of what this aircraft will feel like when you're gonna fly it. Remember, of course, I will be doing a video when I have my hands on it to actually test it out, and then on battles as well when I get the vehicle, okay? So just mind that. Today we're gonna just talk about the aircraft itself and what should you expect. So the first thing is that this aircraft was produced by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, the HAL, of course, and this was an aircraft that the idea was to produce the first jet produced domestically in India. So they, of course, brought a lot of stuff from outside to help it out, including the main engineer. So this aircraft was actually, designed by Kurt Tank, which is very interesting to see this guy here. If you don't know, Kurt Tank, or Kurt Waldemar Tank, was the German engineer that basically helped design the Focke-Wulf 190, the TA-152, and the Focke-Wulf 200, and after the war, the Bulky as well. He worked on Focke-Wulf from 1931 to 1945, so as you know, he produced or helped design a lot of the aircraft that the Germans were using in World War II, right? So he had the experience, he made a jet with the Argentinians, and then he was on his way to help the Indians make their own. Okay, so the idea here initially was that the aircraft was going to be a supersonic capable interceptor aircraft, but because of many things that I'm not gonna get too much into it, eventually instead of being a late 50s supersonic aircraft, eventually became a 60s kind of ground attacker that took a lot of time to design and stuff, but it was still a very good jet. Okay, 147 of them were built. The introduction date was 1967, and the first flight was in 1961 and retired in 1990, so a very long time of service there. Like I said, initially the project was to make this aircraft a supersonic jet, but eventually they just gave the idea up and settled for a subsonic one. They even tried to upgrade the aircraft over the years with afterburning Bristol engine, but only 2 of them were built with that, and some training versions were made and stuff, but the main idea here is that we're probably gonna have the normal Mark 1 version, the production model. That's what's gonna probably be coming. Okay, so what is the performance of these aircraft look like? So to be honest, guys, it is very similar to the Hawker Hunter in design philosophy over here, as it was basically a 50s started to be 50s designed interceptor. A lot of the things that they brought from their own experience was similar-ish to something like the Hawker. That's my take on it. Nobody's talking about this, but it looks very much similar to what the Hawker was, but a little bit pushed forward initially, at least on the design. Okay, so the philosophy itself looks like that on how they designed the wings, the tail, how the aircraft was supposed to be performing. So you should expect something very similar to the Hawker Hunter. So the Hunter F1 will be my main comparison here for you to have an idea of how this aircraft will perform. It is a larger aircraft than the Hunter, okay, but it has basically the same empty weight. It has an extra max takeoff weight, but the empty weight of the aircraft is pretty much the same as the Hawker Hunter. So actually the Hawker Hunter is a little bit heavier, and this thing actually has extra power over the Hunter, right? So it has 2 Siddeley or Fuse engines, uses the 703 version, so it's an earlier model of the G91 engines, the original G91s. So those use the 803 and the 801 engine that produces a little bit more power, but still it's not that much of a difference. It's like 1 kilonewton of difference. These engine would basically produce 21.6 kilonewtons each, and it has 2 of them, right? So it produces around 1/4 more power than the Hawker Hunter, weighing less, which is a very good sign. It means that the aircraft will have an enormous amount of acceleration, and because of that, it will probably be a 9.0 aircraft, okay? The only thing that kind of worries me here, if you take a look on and analyze a little bit of the performance of this thing, is that they claim that it has around 22.5 meters per second of a rate of climb, which is pretty low even compared to older aircraft, you know. So for example, the Hawker Hunter has 55 meters per second. So that kind of makes me think that maybe the drag that this thing has is pretty significant, but we're gonna have to wait and see. At least on the thrust weight side of things, the aircraft feels better than the Hawker Hunter, but we're gonna have to wait for the drag for us to actually see why does he have such a low rate of climb, or is these numbers, you know, even precise, because the majority of the numbers that say that he has that rate of climb are not that reliable, okay? So it might be completely wrong. It might have 50 meters per second of a climb. We just need to wait and see. But it should be a very, very good aircraft. Time to altitude, it is around 9 minutes to 12,000 meters. So it climbs very well for the time. I mean, there are better aircraft in the 60s, but of course, remember, this is the first jet that they actually produce it, okay, guys? So you have to have that in mind, okay? And it is a very, very interesting aircraft on the weapons as well, because, like I said, it is very similar to something like the Hawker Hunter. And why do I say even that? Well, it has 4 30mm Aiden cannons, and it has basically some bombs, and that's it. You know, it can have the retractable Matra pack of rockets, 50 rockets, 68mm, just like the French like to do, and then basically 4,000 pounds of bombs on 4 wing pylons. That's around 1,800 kilograms. So yeah, it can do better than the Hawker Hunters in the terms of bombs, but it uses the same weapons, no missiles or anything like that, and it has a very good stall speed of around 248, not too high up with the flaps and landing gear. So maximum speed is around 0.93, 1,112 kilometers per hour, okay? So the aircraft should be what a mid to early 50s performance should look like. Very similar, like I said, to the Hawker Hunter, but also to the Sabre, the MiG-17, stuff like that, okay? These should be the performance that you can think of, but don't expect this thing to be too much of a dogfighter. I would be surprised with the wing design philosophy and tail section especially. So like I said, it's more of an interceptor, treated like a hunter, so an aircraft that cannot turn so well like a Sabre or a MiG-17, okay? But it will be faster than a MiG-17 and a Sabre in theory, on the very least, producing more power and having not that much weight more, okay? And this is the idea behind the aircraft, kind of an alternative Hawker Hunter for the British. I would imagine that it will feel like that. And basically this is it. These aircraft were used in many wars, like for example in the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971 as CAS together with Hawker Hunters. So yeah, very, very cool. They even shot down an F-86, if I'm not mistaken, the Pakistani F-86. So it has a very cool history behind it. It's an aircraft that it's very cool, and it's not a copy-paste, so thank you, Gaijin, for not adding another copy-paste. It looks kind of like a mixture of a Hunter together with a Swift together with a Q5, in my opinion, which is crazy. So yeah, and the Marut name being Spirit of the Tempest, which is very odd that the Indians have a specific word just to Spirit of the Tempest. I never saw that, but yeah, basically this is it. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see ya.